Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, same. I cut mine too,
Right. Exactly.
Got to clean it up for
We
summer.
are
You really do.
we are live on the Redroom number 103, everyone.
Yes.
Today we're just going to talk about opportunities in the market. Now, we shared a little. I did a little video, put it on my Instagram because we were at 24,500. We're at 24,150. Like,
it's going down.
We're touching the door at 23,000. That would be 5,000 off the high, and that's 18%. So
Yeah.
hey, like I said last week, I don't care if they come off via sale or just people canceling. I don't care.
Right.
Less inventory.
Less competition is less competition.
That's very true. Chris, what percentage of those do you think are people that took them off because their kids are starting school again and they're like, well, I'm not going to do anything for a little while now?
I don't know. My guess is it's half, but I can also tell you, like, I think I've told this story before. I think I was going to be the genius in the market. My daughter needed some listings. I bought like 5 houses post presidential election. I'm like, this is the down. We're going into spring. I'm going to make some money. My daughter's going to get a bunch of listings. I flipped 5 houses and I think I lost like $8,000. So
hey, that's not too bad right now.
Like, oh, that's it. Those are rookie numbers, Iman.
Exactly.
So I have an answer for you guys. Here on the Cromford report, it said, this is as of a couple days ago, it's talking about listing success rate. It says the monthly canceled listing counts are up 42% from a year ago.
There you go. Like we said, we thought it was cancellations, but like I said, do we care?
No. No, it's true. Like you said, 100%. Less competition is less competition. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. Do you want to, when you were single in college, would you go to the bar that had a bunch of guys, or did you go to the bar that had a bunch of girls?
I mean, are these guys in business? Can we make some money with them? Like,
right. Always the entrepreneur. Yeah. Well, I mean, on that note, though, I think it's, a lot of sellers are just realizing that they might have to raise their standards of what their house looks like versus I think it's worth this. And, last year someone sold it for this and I should just get that price. And instead they're just like tuck tail and take it off the market until something changes or until they update. What are you guys seeing? Because Luke, what are you seeing on the retail side?
I mean, in general, it's been so slow. I mean, we've never really had this happen in the sense where we usually like to play with like specific price points, and we kind of stay in those price points, kind of like the conversation we were having last week, even, where we usually sub like 375 or so for us has been very safe. Like that, those numbers have always moved for us, and just unfortunately, I mean, so far this year, it hasn't been moving, even sub 375, and so what we have seen is it is exactly what Ray was saying last week. It's that sub 300 where we're seeing things that are still kind of moving. But yeah, I mean, that's, right now we're looking at our properties that we have out there and we're like, okay, we're the nicest and we're the lowest priced. So it's like, you kind of hit a point where do you keep dropping the price when you're already the nicest and you're already the lowest price? Because when that buyer comes up that is interested in that specific area or whatever it is, you're likely going to be the one that they go with. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If they want to be in that specific area. But that hasn't been the case. They haven't been moving. So we've been having to, continue dropping them. So I mean, fix and flip wise, it's been tough. The things that we have seen that have still, been moving, are the ones that are going to be that more specific sale again, like Chris, we've got a couple flips going together right now in the islands on the water. And then we have, the other one that we had done. And so that one sold immediately. I'm getting a pretty good feel from what's out there right now that these ones are going to sell quickly. And so again, I think it's one of those things where it's like, if you are a unique property in the sense where like these are all the 3 that we did in the islands, they're all waterfront, right? So there's only a certain amount of houses that are waterfront, in all of Gilbert. And so when you're one of them, then you're automatically going to be, kind of on another level, another tier of what other people, you don't have a whole lot of competition.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to be more compelled and be extra special. It sounds like is what you're seeing.
Yes, exactly.
Hmm. I just picked up a little flip, meaning the scope is like super tiny. There's an HOA to deal with to go through the approval process, but I don't, we'll see. These could be my dying words, but hopefully that
Yeah.
process won't be too gnarly. But, I expect to have it on the market within a couple weeks after I get it under contract. Not a huge rip on it, but it's like, it's such an easy scope and,
Yep.
decent comps. So just something to get in, get out. Hmm. And that'll
Absolutely.
be in the probably go to market under sub 5. I mean, I really like to stay in the 450 and less, even cheaper if I can. But
Yep.
again, it's just like pretty easy. So we'll see. The numbers
And
are safe.
where's this one located?
So it's in North Phoenix over off
Okay.
of Tatum in the 101 area.
Heck
So
yeah.
yeah, lots of,
Solid area.
yeah. Hmm. Nothing too crazy, but again, I'm looking at scopes and I'm really encouraging my students to look at scopes that are pretty cosmetic as you can be right now for at least newer people like you that are experienced. It's a bit different, but for newbies out there, if you're wondering if it still works, it does. Yeah, but I
Yeah.
don't really encourage people to get anything that you're going to have a long construction time.
Yeah. No, for sure. For sure.
So so is like Sage and your agents getting the same stuff that I'm getting? It's like, I mean, they're not even asking like, hey, is your buyer willing to
Yeah.
get
No, they're not.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, we're losing you, Chris. He's gone for me, Tracy.
Yeah, I'm hearing like
Yeah.
if you can translate, but
I don't think there's any translating
yeah, I
that.
was like, I don't know what I can't hear her through the
We've
man.
lost you, Chris.
Well, why don't you, Luke, maybe until or if he
Yeah.
comes back on, why don't you talk about what the realtors are seeing on your team?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, it's they're getting calls, so they are still getting calls on the properties. They definitely are, and we're requesting feedback on everything, of course, just so you can kind of get an idea of what's happening.
Yeah,
But the feedback that we're getting is, majority of the time it's still that price is too high, and you're like, how is our price too high? We're the lowest
right.
property in the area that's the nicest one. But I think that people, in my honest opinion, if someone is buying right now, they're not they're not dumb, right? Like if
Mm,
you're buying right now, for a fact that it is absolutely a buyer's market. There's no getting around that. It's a buyer's market right now, and they know it. And so that's why everybody's asking for concessions. That's why
yeah,
everybody's, able to beat you down on a Benzer that doesn't need anything. You're
right.
like, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? And
I need
so
a new AC. It's 3 years old.
yeah, yeah, well, we wanted a train, all right?
Right. Right. Of
Yeah,
course
and
you
so
did.
it's like, yeah,
Yeah.
right. And so I think that's obviously made, it's made it difficult, of course. But that doesn't mean, I mean, obviously we're on here to talk about cycles and opportunities.
Yeah.
And so, that doesn't mean that in my opinion, that doesn't mean that we can't buy good properties, right?
Yeah.
Like it's been harder to buy flips in my opinion, but where we've been a little bit different over the past year and a half, is that we've been buying extremely heavy, to hold
Mm,
over the last 12 months. And I mean, the reason being for me is, I've got some mentors that I talk to regularly and kind of stay in contact with, of kind of their opinions on things and whatnot. And the thing is how I look at it, and this is from talking to them as well, is that typically they say the smart people buy when others are selling,
yeah.
right? And you sell when others are buying. And so, like, if you do what the majority of people do, you're probably going to get, what majority results are. Where again, I mean, the market's been slow, it's been down. And so, because it has been for the past year and a half, like I said, okay, if flips aren't going super well, well, then we're not going to flip super heavy, because if it's not going well, then why even try it?
Right.
But what we've noticed though is that doesn't mean that I can't get really good properties that I can get an awesome appraisal on that's going to make a great rental property. And I know that a lot of people are like, oh, well, interest rates, how do you get them to make sense? So we've been very particular on what we buy. We've been very particular in what we're doing. And so, I mean, again, market's been bad. Well, we've been just and I don't want to say, you know, we've been lowballing people, obviously, like lowballing like crazy. And so I wouldn't necessarily say, you know, it's not taking advantage of people, it's taking advantage of situations,
The
right?
timing.
When somebody's house is, when you've got 10 houses that you're looking at and they've all been sitting on the market for 6 months, why would you not lowball them and just see what happens? You know what I mean? And so, I mean, we've done that quite a bit over the past year and a half. And so, I mean, I was kind of adding it up just before I came on here. So over the last 12 months, we've added 21 rentals in the last year.
That's impressive. Here in Arizona?
All in Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, I mean, all in Arizona. And so, I mean, you know, you had 21 properties in a year. I mean, that's life-changing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the thing is, we've been able to get ridiculous prices on all of them because they're properties that have been sitting for a while. Because you had a seller who was kind of desperate and they're like, hey, I need to unload this. I have to unload this property. Right. And so that's kind of where again, that's where hitting on this opportunities. I think there's a massive opportunity still to this moment right now. And the reason I say that is, again, when you're putting out, you know, I'm not sure, Tracy, if you do that at all, or if you kind of get majority of your deals from, you know, wholesalers or marketing. But I mean, you know, whether it's wholesaler, Chris knows people lowball the hell out of him right now with when he's wholesaling properties.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
I go for it, Chris.
my favorite people is like when they lowball me 30 grand on a wholesale deal. I'm like, you think I got these things marked up 30 or 40 grand? Like
what everyone else is doing.
I'm guilty. I'm guilty of that 100%.
See you, Luke.
Yeah, and then I'll just say, well, I don't know, talk to the seller and see what you could do.
Yeah.
But I mean, the thing is again, it's that same thing where if you do it 10 times and one comes back, guess what? You just got a fantastic deal, you know? And I mean, did you see, Tracy, you saw the little, not little, the Victorian house that we posted?
Oh, I'm so jealous, dude. I'm so jealous. I don't get jealous of things, but I've always wanted to like restore a Victorian. So when that popped up, I was like, I wonder if I could just sneak up there and, you know,
it's
work my way onto the job site somehow.
It's 1877. So I mean, it's a 150-year-old house. It's one of the oldest houses in Prescott, which is really cool. But I mean, that thing had been on the market for, you know, 6-7 weeks. The sellers were getting antsy. They dropped the price one time, and I would have expected them to drop it multiple times. And I came in very, very, very low. Yeah. We negotiated back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and then we ended up settling on a price that I was very happy with. And so, you know, I know the area super well. So I mean, like, I know what it's going to be worth after we're done. I mean, it's got a guest house. It's got a, you know, 550, 600 square foot guest house. It's got a 600 square foot garage. So we're going to convert that. Going to talk to the city, convert that garage to another unit. So it will be two guest houses that are each 2-bedroom, 1 bath, and then the main house is a 4-bedroom. It'll be main house will be a 4-bed, 3-bath, like 1,750 square foot Victorian home. So, I mean, that property's probably worth 1.2, 1.3 finished. And I know I'm gonna have to put, you know, 275 into it. So I mean, it's gonna be a huge reno. But I mean, for what I got it for, I should be walking into, you know, probably 40% equity.
That's amazing. So I think, you know,
did that have a 4 in front of it or a 5 in front of it?
My original offer had a 4, but I ended up getting it basically right around 5.
That's what I was kind of figuring. I was right. Yeah. And I mean, kind of what I'm hearing you talk towards, Luke, is, you know, like really narrowing down on what it is that's working for you in this market. And I think it's safe to say that like all three of us have multiple and different income streams. And a lot of people listening don't rely on like just flips or just rentals or just lending. Like one kind of feeds the other. But what I will say, and what I think would be helpful for people that listen to this podcast to know, is like, this is the sort of lull in the market that really, I think, separates people from, do you really want to be in this industry? And if so, prove it, get better, you know, right? Or maybe this just wasn't meant for you to begin with. But I would really implore people, like, listen, if you feel like you're gifted at this and you just need to retool or collaborate with people, please do that. There's always opportunity. In fact, it's arguable that there's better opportunities right now. Like Chris has been through, you know, the downturn, and I mean, look what came out of that and how long, you know, how he's been able to sustain himself and grow to what he's done. So Chris, what do you think are some takeaways and like good opportunities for people to work on right now?
Well, a couple things that obviously help is, like you said, if you're just the fix and flipper, you just, it hurts, right? It's like I sat there and would chirp in Luke's ear, like, don't take them all down. Some of them, just
keep some of them.
Not 10%, but more like 30 or 40%. But he wouldn't listen to me, but that was all right. But it's like, if you have, like, because we all know that fix and flips take cash, and even if you have the the gap funding people, you still and maybe you got the gap funding people that wait till the end to get their check, which is obviously great because then you have the cash to do it. You're not have an interest ticker, but you still have an interest ticker generally with the first lender, right? So I think a balance, or even like the people that have they have a real estate company and then they fix and flip on the side. So they get their commissions, their active income, and then they get, but just being a solo, fix and flipper. And when you have markets like this and it's slow and, all the cash is going out the door and none of the cash is coming in the door is never a good feeling. So,
no, 100%.
Obviously I have lending.
Oh, you're cutting out a little bit, Chris.
Like I have 3 streams. Yeah, I have 3 streams of income, so that obviously helps. I got the lending, the wholesale, and then when I do fix and flips, that's the small scale stuff.
Yeah. For sure. And I mean, and like you said, Tracy, to make it, I think in this market, when you're going through these hard times, you absolutely have to have those. You have to. Because I mean, like you said, our fix and flip has been ultimately non-existent in the last 6 months. It's been slow. I mean, and when we do close, that has not been rips like that, like we're used to. So when they're not rips and that's going slow, we don't do a ton of wholesaling, but I mean, what's kept us up, in all honesty, has been our Airbnbs. I mean, our and that's Jamil had a post a couple of days ago, and me and him were getting into it playfully though, obviously, but he said, he's like, Airbnbs are dead. They're completely going away. And I was like, well, I would say different. So I sent him a screenshot because our Airbnbs in July did 53,000.
Nice.
And so it's like, but if we didn't have that, then that's tough. You know what I mean? Then it's like, then you're in that kind of hard spot. But again, because they did those numbers, because July was just an incredible month. And I mean, it's been an incredible year for Airbnb, really. But not having that second kind of income stream, it puts you in a tough spot. So.
Well, I'll go a little bit deeper with that too. I mean, one of the things I talk to about my students, but also it's like my profile, is coupling your personal finances and with what it is that your business reflects too, right? So a lot of people, I think, live high on the hog when they get these commissions, and I'll just use agents in this example because A, they're easy to pick on, and B, they will just kind of like more well known. But it's like, if you're making $15,000, $20,000 a check, or even a little bit less than that, it feels good to make that if you haven't made a check in a while, or if those don't come very often. And when you're trying to budget around that, it seems like, well, if we have another income in the household, or I deserve this, so I'm going to go out and spend this. It's really difficult in times like this where it's just like, man, you really have to monitor what's going out. It's not just about what's coming in. And a lot of people really like to brag about their gross. And I'm like, who cares, bro? Like, I don't know what your balance sheet is. I don't know what your cash flow statement is. I don't know what your overhead is. I would never ask for those things, but whoever's listening to this, that's like, how are these people able to do this? Like, I'll just speak for myself and say, I'm really conservative about things. It's not sexy all the time, but man, in times like this, I'm like, okay, I feel more secure because I don't have debt. I don't have these things that would really put you in a position to have to do things that, go out and get a job or sell something that you might not actually want to sell, versus like, hey, let's prepare to be able to take advantage of this market like Luke is doing, and going out and buying, wealth building assets for your family. So, I just really want to encourage people, like, is your ego more important than your future? Right. And if that's something that you're really battling with, no one's going to give a shit what you drive, in a couple years, if you can just change that and really just monitor what it is that you're spending. I think that goes a long way. What do you guys think?
I had just one question. Do you say buy or stealing? Buying or stealing? That's what.
Tomato, tomato, you know.
Hey, you know what? Like I said, we've all got opportunities, Chris. We've all got them. You can throw out whatever offers you want on whatever properties you want. I mean, trust me, 9 out of 10 times the agent's like, "What? No." You know what I mean? They're like, "No, my client is not going to be interested in that. Are you kidding me? No." But then you get that agent that's like, "You know what? My client is ready to go. Like they are over it. They don't want to do this. You know, they still have equity in the property. Like if you can get it to where it's like they're still making something, and it's like, all right, that's what I'm looking for. It's the same. It's the same thing as, you know, it's the same thing as when you're hitting the marketing, right? Like when you're making cold calls, when you're doing. That's what I actually joke about because I'll have you know, people that'll reach out and say like, how are you getting this many, you know, properties? Like how are you keeping this many right now? Like how are you finding this many deals? And I'm like, you have to understand. I have gotten so accustomed to just getting absolutely, you know, just rejected time after time after time after time. So it's like, I don't care. You know what I mean? Like I'll make these offers and it does not affect me. My skin has gotten pretty thick over the past 11 years in this industry. Because I mean, again, I'd get rejected 50, 60 times a day, you know, cold calling, people just like telling you to screw off, don't call me ever again and all this. And so it's like, sorry, to me, there's no difference in getting that from a seller versus an agent. So
Yeah, your phone calls on Instagram are pretty funny when they're like rattling off or telling you to go jump off a cliff and there's no change in your affect. You're just like, oh, you know, Tuesday. Okay, cool, whatever.
Do you have a cliff that you'd recommend that you'd like?
That needs to be a tweet.
I know, serious.
Yeah.
But again, you know, it's what you said, Tracy. It's growing and you know, doing things that nobody else is doing and taking chances on doing that kind of stuff. Because I mean, it just, as we've seen so many times, going with the flow, doing what everybody else is doing, that's not how you gain wealth. You know, it's not how you do it. You got to make changes.
Well, the other thing I'd recommend too, that I really think will speak to this audience, is relationships. And that's not to sound, you know, cliche at all, but I think that when people are willing to have, even if it needs to be private conversations, or if you're in masterminds or meetups or something where you can make really meaningful connections and ask questions and be a little bit vulnerable, if I can actually use that word synonymously in business, where it's like, hey, you know, things aren't going so well, or I'm not doing the volume that I was doing. What are you doing to retool? And it's like, hey man, we just did a new you know, agent, an AI agent, and that's really saved us on admin costs, and this is how we're implementing it. Or we changed our buying strategy. We're doing more you know, seller funded stuff instead of just paying cash. So, I mean, there's these little things that I think if you're open to those conversations, I think you'd be surprised about how they go, thinking everyone else is doing so great and you're the only one that's not doing. So it seemed like, hey, what are you guys doing? It's been slow. And being open to that. And, you know, it's really during these times that you galvanize those sort of connections. Like Chris and I have known each other for how long? And, you know, I've been in this industry for how long? Luke, you've been doing it for 11, but, you know, I've known guys since I've started in this industry, and we've all kind of been in the trenches. And I really think that this is when you get battle tested and become better. So if you're listening and wondering, like, does it get better? You get better.
Exactly.
You can't control what the market does, but you certainly can get better. And relationships are a huge, huge part of that. Who you are gets really tested and shown during this time. So if you can dig deep, know your why, you know, put your nose to the grindstone, ask for help, and then do the work, I think that you can come out of this a lot better.
Oh yeah. Doing the work is the big part. You know, that's the big part that nobody wants to, you know, look at. Cause it's like, that's the mirror that reflects, and you say, okay, like, why am I not where I want to be? Why am I not doing the things that I want to do? Well, am I doing the work? I'm doing some work. I'm doing, you know what I mean? Like that's majority of people. I'm doing a little bit of work. I'm doing some work. I'm not doing the work. Like there's a difference between some work, a little bit of work, and the work. Like we all know what the work is. The work is when you come home every single day and you're like, damn, I went after it today. I did everything that I could have done to try to get a deal, or I did everything that I could have done to make the most of the day. That's what doing the work is, and doing it day after day after day after day after day.
Heck yeah.
Some little thoughts about, like, depending on where your leads come and how they work. I mean, you can still work, like, take opportunities that, you know, like I said, you know, Luke was, I'm buying it, taking it down. I'm buying it, I'm taking it down. That was kind of his mindset in 2022. But you can go like, hey, that 1.2, it works at 500 grand. Yes, it
Right.
works. 1.2 works at 500. Yes, but
Right.
maybe, but maybe it's a $700,000 deal. Well, that might be a deal that you could throw maybe as an ovation, right?
Right.
And work an ovation. And maybe you can say, hey, like maybe it's an $800,000 deal, and just like, all right, I gotta list it, right? So still a $1.2 million listing, or if it's $1 million listing, still 25 grand, 30 grand, right?
Yeah, exactly. 100%.
Or if you get it cheap enough and it's kind of borderline, like paying a guy like me 12.9% is never fun, right? So maybe you just switch it around, like, hey, you got some 4% financing. Why don't I take it over? I'll fix it up and then I'll sell it. But then I get to use your 4% financing. Win-win. You help me out, I help you out, because I'm going to take over the property. I'm going to add value. I'm going to put some money into it, and then I'm going to sell it. But hey, if you're clipping away at 12% versus like a 4%, you're saving a good amount of the money and in the interest, right? So, being a little creative in those conversations might help too.
For sure. And I mean, the thing is too, is, getting creative and knowing how to be creative, that also comes with time. Cause I mean, the only way that I would have known that, let's just say this specific property, the only way that I would have known that this was going to be a deal, that this was going to work, is because I have either done it in the past or have made the mistake of missing out on one and seeing it happen before my eyes, of following a project of how it went. You know what I mean? Like, I say I didn't pull the trigger on something, and then you see, oh my God, that property just sold for that. Are you kidding me? How? You know what I mean? So again, it's the time in the business that you're spending. And then it's also the learning experiences. Because I mean, this specific one, what I'm going to do is, like I said, that garage that's in the back, I'm turning it into a third unit. So the value add that's there for a 600 square foot building already being there, but then turning it into another, the value of that being a garage is, let's just say for this specific property, let's say it's 100 grand, right? Let's say it's 100 grand for a 600 square foot, two car garage out and back, good shape and everything. But knowing that the value add, if you make that a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, little property in downtown Prescott, okay, well now I know, you know what? I can rent that thing out for $2,000 a month. Let's just look at the numbers. At $2,000 a month, that's probably a $250,000 value add versus it being 100. You know what I mean? So, and maybe it's going to cost me 50 grand to do it. So just like that, you're making 100. And I mean, some people might give you more than that. Some people might say, hey, you know what? Because that's what we did with a different one. We Airbnb'd a garage out, like we completely converted it. And it went from just being a 2-car garage in the back of a property to an Airbnb that was doing $4,700 a month. So then you start looking at a $4,700 a month. Okay, well now that's a $500,000 value add. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, if you look at it like that, it's kind of crazy. And so that's where, again, with the experience and the creativity that comes with losses, it comes with wins, it comes from learning from mistakes, it comes from learning from, from doing the work and being in the business.
Part of what I'm hearing with that too is exchanging, hey, I could be really fearful and I don't know what's going to happen next. And so I'm going to sit on the sidelines and wait for this proverbial crash and only buy things at 40 cents on the dollar and just wait to see what everyone else is doing first. Or I'm only going to buy things at, 50 to 60 cents on the dollar. And then when I do this, because I've done that, it allows me to add this and make this much more money. So I think it's like when you start to see opportunities, your brain gets excited about that.
Yeah.
And it puts you out of the fear and into the excitement of how can I help sellers and, get these deals, and then also be able to be into them and do something really creative with them as well, like aesthetically and financially too.
Well, listening to the noise, right? Because like, what's everybody say right now? God, interest rates are so high. They're so high. Like, definitely can't buy rental properties right now. There's no way you can buy rental properties with these interest rates. There's no way. And it's like, yes, you can. You absolutely can. You're not going to cash flow as much because of what the interest rates are. But like we always say, date the rate. You know what I mean? Date the rate. Like, they're going to change. And when they do change, like we said, I've looked at what the numbers are going to be once we are able to refi out of all my 8% interest rates that I have right now. Because I've got a ton of 8%. I've got some that are even 9.2% interest rates right now, from just properties that I really wanted. And I ended up snagging them a year ago when their interest rates were insane. And these are all DSCR loans. So they're another percent higher anyway. But again, some of them might barely cash flow, but even if they just barely cash flow for now, and then once they drop back down, let's say I can refi all of them at 5.5, the changes are it's a massive difference every single month.
Yeah, you'll look like a genius in a decade when everyone's like, "How'd you do that?" Well,
right, because bought when nobody else wanted to buy.
Yeah. Are you guys bearish or bullish on the next 6 months for pricing?
I'm personally, I think I'm going to be bearish on flipping, but I'm going to continue being bullish on buying, like to keep.
Yeah. Interesting. So what would you guys say is one thing that people can do to get out of fear, identify what they can do to find good opportunities in this cycle and do it safely?
How many people do you think are fearful of making that super low ball offer?
A lot. Majority of people
Right?
are.
Yeah.
I think majority of people are terrified to make that offer.
Yeah, and I think that's the fear. That's the piece of fear that I think holds most people back. Because, like Luke said, he's not scared. He's not scared to do it. I have a funny story. Like, when I first bought my first house in Fort Lauderdale, my wife's sister's an agent. I'm like, hey, make this offer. She's like, I can't. And she works for Compass, right? So Compass is a name brand. I can't do that. I'm like, all right.
Can't do
it. So it was listed for $700,000. So I made an offer through Brendan. I bought the house for $500,000. I flipped it. I made $260,000 or something, right?
Jeez, man.
I ran across another one. This is the one we lit. The water's right there. Right out that door. It was listed at like 1.7. I'm like, let's offer 1.5 or 1.2. We can't do that.
Sure can.
Here, faxing in right now.
And here I have a house. The water's right out there because I offered $500,000 less.
Exactly. You don't know what's going to happen unless you at least throw it out there. You have zero, like what do people say? You have 0% chance of getting it if you don't offer anything.
I would have thought the fear would be more around losing money. So you guys think that the bigger fear is just people actually asking for a price that works?
I personally think that Chris is accurate because
wow.
I mean, this is my thought. Like, my thought process when I throw out these offers is that there's no way I can go wrong if they accept. There's no way. You know what I mean? So it's like, I'll put down 10K earnest if I need to, because it's like, if I get this if for some odd reason, if they say yes or we negotiate them close, you know what I mean? Like, if I get it at these prices, I'm not going to lose. Like that's how offending my offers are. Is that like I'm not going to lose? There's no chance I lose on this. Like because I'm coming in $150,000 under on every single property. You know what I mean? So it's like, okay, well, if I was kind of thinking I liked the property before and then I can get it for $150,000 under, like that's a full renovation. And I still probably have a huge chunk of equity just from the buy, not to mention the equity that you created from doing the work and, from doing the renovation. And so, I mean, yeah, but then at the same time, like you said, Tracy, I don't know if other people have that same sense though, of like, of not being scared to lose, because I think you're right. I think there's people that are scared to make the offer. Then there's also people that are scared to lose on, to ultimately to lose on the deal.
But you can take the flip calculator and you can say, all right, here's my retail price. Let me just take that down 5%. I'm going to say the retail price is down 5%. And I'm going to overestimate the budget. I'm 9 months on the hard money line.
Right.
Still, it doesn't say, oh, you can't buy it. It still puts a number down in the calculator. You may not feel comfortable making the offer at that number, but there's still a number at the bottom of that calculator.
There definitely is.
Yeah. Just like cover your eyes and press send as you shoot off the offer, or have your agent shoot off the offer. Yeah. Just grin and bear it.
I like calling the agent and just, I'm just going to be really honest with you. All right. I'll be not going to like my offer, but it's still an offer, right? An offer is still good at this in this market. And they're like, okay, what are we thinking? Right. I mean, you guys are. We snagged a duplex like a month ago in downtown Prescott. It was 450 was the original ask. They dropped it to 4, then they dropped it to 380, then they dropped it to 375. And I was like, okay, like I love this area, I love this, what it is. I came in at so then this specific one. I
Did
was
I
like,
just hear it too?
I'm like, you're probably not gonna like it, but I just for what I have funds wise, I'm at 270. And I mean, they'd already dropped it 100 grand. I mean, there's 75. They'd already dropped it 75 grand, and I came in another 100 grand under what they dropped it from. And I'd already reached out to an appraiser and said, "Hey, this house, you know what I do, fully renovated. What's this thing worth?" And he said 550. He said, "If you do your type of work, this is worth 550." And I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna do my type of work if I get it, as you know." So, yeah, I came in and came in at 270. Said, "No, get lost." 2 weeks went by. And I saw another drop down to like 360. And I was like, okay. And so called her back. I said, hey, I'm still at 270. If your client gets that low, I understand it's a big difference, but if your client gets to 270, I'm still there. So she's like, no, he's not interested. And then 2 more weeks go by.
Until he is.
And then she calls me and she's like, will you do 300? And I was like, oh damn, we're down to 300 now.
We're
and I was like,
talking. Okay.
yeah. And I was like, I like kind of like I told you where I'm kind of at where I'm at. And she's like, okay. And she's like, okay, no worries. I'll let him know. Calls back literally a couple days later. She's like, if you can do 280, it's a done deal. I was like, done. I'll do 280 right now.
Oh my God.
So snagged it at 280. And I already have an appraiser that said it's worth 550 if I do what I do. So I mean, it's like, and I'm right now they're getting finished this week, and I'm a total of 55 into the reno.
Oh, that's not bad.
And they're sick. So
yeah. Digital high five, dude. That's freaking amazing.
But I mean, that's the things that people are scared to do. You got to, if you want to get some of these properties at crazy prices, what you got to do.
Yeah. I think people need to hear those stories too. Cause I think it's like, you don't believe it until you see it. And I come across, when I'm comping properties or looking at deals, it's just like, I see one quite literally every time I'm comping a property where it's like, I see people buying stuff 50, 60 cents on the dollar. And I'm like, good for you, man. Good for, because you never know what it took to get there, but it is happening. It's happening every single day. So I think that, what I'm hearing is there's always opportunities, but it's you getting out of the fear and then just putting the offers out there. And, what if it's 1 out of 20 or 1 out of 50? You kind of just need 1 out of whatever to accept.
Yeah, no, exactly. So, and then, then you could, if you wanted, you could throw it on the market. Obviously, you just expect that it's not going to sell for what it appraised for, or what the appraiser thought it appraised for. So that's why, with the market being how it is right now, I'm not going to just go put it back on and just try to lose money on the sale again. So I'm getting good appraisals and then throwing a long-term loan on it. Throw a long-term loan on it, and then they're giving you that value. So then maximize that the leverage on it. And in the last few that we've been able to do, we've been able to pull out another 70 grand after you throw the loan on it and can pay off your lender 100%. I mean, so it's like, it's income. For me, it's active income, and it's non-taxable. It's non-taxable because it's a refi. You know what I mean? So you got non-taxable income coming back to you because they're just looking at it like you're pulling equity out of your own property. And so, I mean, that's what's crazy, is you start doing stuff like that. And that's where we've been able to kind of make some noise there.
Mm-hmm. So I think we'll have more opportunities coming up in like Q4. I think that it's still a great time to keep making lowball offers like that. How long that's going to last for is anyone's guess. But if I had to make a bet, I think that people will be a little bit more agreeable to some of these lowball offers. Not, en masse, but I think we as investors do have a really great opportunity to be able to pick up some really juicy deals here in the next few months.
Well, and the thing is that once it goes back, right? Let's say it flip-flops back and it becomes a seller's market again. What do? Then that's when you start flipping again, because then your properties start moving again. You know what I mean? So it's like you're on the teeter-totter. You just pick which side that you're on at the time and make the most of it,
Maybe not 17 at a time, Luke, but maybe like 7. Took too many puppies. Maybe 4 puppies would have been okay.
It's like what's the movie?
Bridesmaids.
Bridesmaids. Exactly.
I might have overcommitted.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Well, the good thing about what Luke's doing is he's buying it at 50 cents on the dollar. So there's room for the purchase. There's room for the rehab. you refi it at 70-75%. Like you said, you're covering all your
Yeah.
costs. And if
Yep.
you're actually making a profit, you're just pulling a little bit of your equity for cash flow at the time, right?
Yep.
And you're borrowing it at whatever 7.75 or 8, whatever the current number is. And
last one I just did was 6.9.
Yeah, so even better. So yeah, but it's not income. It's not income. You got a property fully rehabbed at 70 cents on the dollar, and if you needed some cash down the road, and the market's better, and it's fully stabilized, and it's got renters, and some IRA guy needs to come, or 1031 guy needs to come and spend some money, then you make all the money.
100%.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like you guys were saying earlier, the multiple income streams. I do want to emphasize that all of us have multiple and different income streams. So like one thing supports the other. So you can be able to, do what Luke is doing. And, on the other side of that too, it's like, if there is something that you want to build, I believe that when things are slower, lean into that more. If you've been so busy that you can't focus on growing something that would work, these are the opportunities I think that, a lot of people miss because they're too afraid to dig in or believe in themselves or invest in themselves. So if you've been thinking about building an extra stream of income, now might be the time, guys.
Absolutely. It is the time.
Well, guys, we appreciate you jumping on. I'm going to do my little commercial. The 3rd, we have no events in August. Just everybody's going back to school, going back to college, finishing up their summer travels. Nobody attends my August events, so I don't throw them. The third Tuesday, we have the commissioner back in the house, basically telling what she's watching for the bad actors, what to stay away from. I always love this piece because, like, if you know that the department or the attorney general is focused on one aspect of the business, just stay away from it. Like, it's real simple. Like, just avoid it, because you never like those whatever civil lawsuits or FBI or any of the other stuff that comes along with it. So.
Yeah, 100% there too.
All right, guys, appreciate you jumping on.
Absolutely.
All right, until next time.
We'll see you guys.